Monica Williams woke up early that morning, her mind buzzing with purpose. She had always believed in knowing her business from the inside out. Owning a chain of banks was not just about numbers or profits, it was about people, the way her employees treated clients, and the culture she wanted to create. Lately, she had heard some concerning reports about one of her branches. A few customers had complained about rudeness, and though her managers insisted everything was fine, Monica knew firsthand that things could look perfect on paper while reality was very different. Today, she decided, she would see the truth for herself. She dressed carefully, choosing simple, nondescript clothing. She wanted to blend in, to appear as an ordinary client. A plain blouse, a casual skirt, and low heels were all she needed. She even styled her hair differently, pulling it back in a neat bun rather than letting it flow as usual. Monica wanted to make sure nobody recognized her. After all, the point of this visit was honesty, not flattery. She wanted to see her bank exactly as it operated for regular people. As she drove to the branch, she thought about the staff. She had hired them with care. Most were hardworking and respectful, yet she knew that sometimes, under pressure, people revealed their true selves. Monica reminded herself to observe carefully, to watch body language, tone, and patience. She wanted to see how they treated someone who was not privileged or influential, someone who might make mistakes or ask too many questions. When she arrived, the bank looked busy but calm. Several customers were waiting in line, and tellers were engaged in conversations with clients. Monica paused at the entrance for a moment, taking a deep breath. She practiced her part quietly in her head, a new client, slightly unsure, needing help with a transaction. She smiled at the receptionist, who nodded politely but seemed preoccupied. Monica approached the waiting line, moving slowly, pretending to examine the notices on the wall. At the desk, David Turner was already busy. He had been working at the bank for over 5 years and prided himself on efficiency. He believed that rules were rules, and clients needed to follow them. He was sharp, confident, but sometimes a little too impatient with people who asked questions he considered obvious. That day, he was balancing between helping a client who needed detailed assistance and observing the line of people waiting. When Monica stepped forward, David gave her a quick, assessing look. "Can I help you?" he asked, voice polite but firm. Monica smiled warmly, hoping to set the tone for a normal interaction. "Yes, please. I need to open a new account," she said softly. Her voice had a calm, confident rhythm, but she kept it casual. "I've never banked here before, and I'm a little unsure about the process." David nodded. He gestured toward a chair. "Please, have a seat. I'll need some identification and basic information." He began typing on his computer, asking her standard questions. Monica answered clearly, making sure her responses were consistent but natural. She didn't want to draw attention to herself, yet she carefully noted everything: how David treated her, the tone of his voice, his patience level. As the process continued, Monica noticed subtle signs of stress in David. He shifted his weight, glanced repeatedly at the line of waiting customers, and his fingers tapped nervously on the keyboard. She understood, banks could be stressful, and he probably felt pressure to keep everything moving quickly. She smiled politely, trying to put him at ease. But then, something unexpected happened. David's expression changed. A small frown appeared, and his voice became sharper. "I need to verify some of this information," he said. "Some of your details don't match our records. I'm going to need to ask a few more questions." Monica's heart sank slightly. She had anticipated scrutiny, but she also wanted the interaction to reveal truth, not conflict. "Of course," she replied, keeping her tone calm and professional. "Please, ask whatever you need." David's questions became more pointed, and his tone grew impatient. Monica felt tension rising but maintained her composure. She answered each question clearly and politely, explaining her situation as any client might. Yet David's skepticism seemed to intensify. He leaned closer, scrutinizing her documents and asking for additional proof. Monica remained patient, observing his reactions, noting the small gestures, the tightening of his jaw, the slight narrowing of his eyes, the way he tapped his pen when frustrated. Other clients watched quietly, sensing the tension building. Monica noticed one elderly woman frowning slightly, as if wondering what had upset the teller. A young man shifted in his chair, trying not to get involved. Monica's role required her to stay calm, to appear ordinary, but inside, her mind was analyzing everything. She thought about David's behavior. Was it stress, a misunderstanding, or something deeper? Then, David's frustration boiled over. "I'm not sure you're being completely honest with me," he said sharply. He gestured toward the security guard. "I think we need to take this further." Monica froze for a moment, realizing the situation was escalating much faster than she expected. She had to maintain her cover, but she also had to prepare for the unexpected. The security guard approached cautiously, waiting for instructions. Monica stayed seated, hands resting calmly on the desk, pretending to be confused and worried. She could see the other staff watching, some whispering quietly. Her mind raced as she tried to think of a way to de-escalate without revealing who she was. She knew one wrong move could turn this into a confrontation she hadn't planned for. David reached out to place his hand on her documents, then suddenly, in a gesture of forceful authority, he slapped her hand away. Monica flinched slightly, but she did not react with anger. She wanted to observe, to let the situation unfold naturally. The security guard, misunderstanding the situation, began preparing to take her aside. Monica's pulse quickened, but she stayed composed, silently counting her breaths, watching the dynamics in the room. This moment, Monica realized, was exactly why she had come. She wanted to see how her staff reacted under pressure, how they treated someone they assumed was a difficult client. The situation had escalated, yes, but it revealed something crucial about the culture of her branch. She noted every expression, every word, every gesture. This was the truth she sought, unfiltered and real. As she was led gently toward the waiting area by the security guard, Monica remained calm. She smiled politely, keeping up the guise of an ordinary client. She knew that after this, she would have the full picture: the good, the bad, and the parts that needed improvement. And she also knew, deep down, that this experience would teach her staff a lesson they wouldn't forget, even if they didn't yet know who she really was. Outside the main desk area, she had a moment to breathe. Monica observed the customers, the tellers, the staff in their routine. Everything seemed normal on the surface, yet under the surface, the cracks were visible. People under stress revealed their true selves, and today, she had seen one of those moments clearly. Monica smiled inwardly. This was just the beginning, and already, it was more enlightening than she could have imagined. As she waited, she reflected on her journey to this point. Monica had started her career in banking as a clerk herself, working long hours, learning the ins and outs of customer service. She remembered the small frustrations, the rude clients, and the occasional unfair treatment she had endured. Those experiences had shaped her as a leader. She knew the importance of empathy, patience, and professionalism. And now, she was seeing firsthand how her lessons were or were not being applied by the next generation of staff. By the time she finished observing, Monica had already made mental notes about how to handle the situation, how to address it with staff, and how to implement changes that could prevent incidents like this in the future. The branch had given her a lot to think about, and she was grateful for the insights, even if the method was more dramatic than she had anticipated. When Monica finally left the branch, she carried with her not anger, but clarity. She had seen her business from a perspective she rarely had access to. She had seen the challenges, the mistakes, and the opportunities for improvement. And though the encounter with David had been tense, it had provided invaluable lessons that she intended to use wisely. Monica knew that the days ahead would require careful planning, but she was ready. She was a leader who believed in action, not excuses, and today had given her the reality check she needed. The tension in the bank grew almost instantly after David Turner's hand struck Monica's. The sound was sharp, echoing slightly in the quiet space near the teller's desk. People in the waiting area stiffened, their eyes widening in surprise. A few whispered to each other, unsure what was happening, while others simply stared. Monica remained seated, her expression calm but alert. She had expected scrutiny, but this escalation was faster and harsher than she had imagined. David's face was a mixture of frustration and authority. He felt justified. He believed he was protecting the bank from a potential problem, yet the way he had acted now seemed too impulsive. He gestured to the security guard, signaling that he wanted Monica to be taken aside. "We need to handle this immediately," he said firmly. "There's no time to waste." The security guard, a tall man named James, nodded cautiously. He had seen conflicts before, but this one felt unusual. He approached Monica, keeping a respectful distance, ready to intervene but careful not to provoke her. "Ma'am, could you come with me, please?" he asked politely. Monica stood slowly, keeping her hands visible, her posture relaxed. She wanted to show that she was cooperative, even though internally, she was analyzing every detail of the interaction. As they moved toward a small waiting area away from the main desk, Monica noticed the reactions of the other staff. A few of them were whispering nervously, glancing at David and then at her. She could sense their uncertainty. They did not know the full story, and the sudden escalation had caught everyone off guard. She silently noted the body language, the hesitation, the fear mixed with loyalty. This was exactly the type of situation she had hoped to observe in her undercover visit. David stayed at the desk, watching every move carefully. He leaned over the counter, speaking to the other tellers in a low voice, trying to maintain control of the situation. "Make sure everything is documented," he instructed. "We can't let this get out of hand." His voice carried authority, but there was an edge of stress. He was confident in his actions, yet the uncertainty in the room mirrored his own internal tension. Monica sat down in the waiting area chair, keeping her composure. She glanced around, observing the surroundings as if she were just another client. From this angle, she could see the layout of the branch, the way the staff interacted under pressure, and the reactions of customers who were unsure whether to intervene or remain silent. She remained calm, her breathing steady, her mind focused. She knew that this moment was critical. It revealed more than just a single employee's behavior. It revealed the culture of the branch, the habits and attitudes that could either strengthen or weaken her business. James, the security guard, maintained a professional distance but kept a watchful eye on her. "I need to verify a few things," he said, his tone polite but firm. Monica nodded, answering with calm, clear statements. She did not reveal her identity, though every word she spoke was measured. She wanted to see how David and the staff handled a situation where they believed a client might be dishonest or difficult. This was not personal, it was observation, study, and, most importantly, a test. Back at the main desk, David's frustration began to build. He felt pressure from multiple directions, the line of waiting customers, the need to follow bank procedures, and the feeling that something about Monica was suspicious. In his mind, he was acting to protect the bank, yet his approach was growing more aggressive. He called another staff member over, whispering instructions quickly, making sure they were prepared to escalate the situation if necessary. Meanwhile, Monica remained calm, but her mind was fully alert. She noticed the small signs of stress in David, the quick movements of his fingers, the tightening of his jaw, the way he shifted his weight as if preparing for confrontation. She observed the subtle cues of the security guard, who seemed torn between caution and following orders. And she saw the reactions of the other staff, some sympathetic, some unsure, some silently judging David's approach. Every detail was a lesson in human behavior under pressure. Then, the situation escalated further. David, growing impatient, leaned forward and raised his voice slightly. "I've asked you to cooperate," he said. "We need to make sure everything is legitimate. This is serious." The words carried authority, but also a hint of panic. Monica remained composed, answering politely. "I understand," she said. "I'm happy to provide any information you need. Please, ask your questions." The security guard stepped closer, and Monica could sense the tension in the room reaching its peak. The other customers were watching, some whispering to each other, some pretending not to notice. Monica realized that this was exactly the moment she had hoped to witness, the breaking point where professionalism, patience, and judgment were truly tested. Suddenly, David's frustration overflowed. "I don't think you're being honest with me," he said sharply. In a swift, impulsive move, he slapped her hand away again, more forcefully this time. The action startled the people nearby. Monica flinched slightly but did not react with anger. Instead, she maintained a calm demeanor, allowing the situation to unfold so she could fully understand its dynamics. James, the security guard, now felt it necessary to take more definitive action. He gently guided Monica toward a small holding area in the branch, explaining politely that they needed to review her documents and verify her identity. Monica followed without resistance, her composure intact. She knew that revealing her identity now would ruin the purpose of her observation. Every step, every reaction, was being carefully studied not just by her, but by everyone in the branch. As Monica sat in the holding area, she reflected on the interaction. She noticed the subtle details that most people would overlook, the nervous glances of other staff members, the slight hesitation in the movements of the security guard, the concerned expressions of some customers. These were the real insights, the way people behaved when they believed someone might be a problem. She was learning more about her branch in this tense moment than she could have in months of reports or meetings. Meanwhile, David returned to the main desk, attempting to manage the situation from a distance. He instructed other employees to continue their duties while keeping an eye on the waiting customers. His confidence had not wavered, but there was now a clear tension in his posture. He believed he was following the rules, but he had not anticipated the full complexity of the moment. Monica had already seen everything: the actions, the reactions, the underlying fear, and the assumptions. In the holding area, Monica remained calm and observant. She spoke to the security guard in a cooperative, respectful tone, answering questions clearly and patiently. She wanted to show that she was a compliant client, yet she also wanted to study the human behavior around her. Every gesture of the staff, every instruction, every tone of voice was being analyzed. She noted the differences between those who were empathetic and those who were rigid, those who were thoughtful and those who acted impulsively. Time seemed to stretch as Monica waited. Each minute added to the tension and provided new insights. She realized that this experience, though uncomfortable, was invaluable. It revealed not just the behavior of one employee, but the overall culture of the branch, the training, the expectations, the pressures, and the personal judgments that influenced decisions. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Monica was ready to face the resolution of this incident. She had seen enough to understand the flaws and strengths of her branch. She had observed the tipping point where authority could become aggression, where rules could overshadow humanity. She had seen how fear and assumption could escalate a situation beyond control. And she had done so without revealing her identity, preserving the integrity of her undercover observation. As she waited for the next steps, Monica remained calm and composed. She knew that this experience would not only teach her staff a lesson but also provide her with the insights necessary to improve training, communication, and the overall culture of her bank. The incident, though tense, was exactly the type of reality she had hoped to observe: raw, unfiltered, and deeply revealing. After the tense incident, Monica sat quietly in the small waiting area, her calm demeanor contrasting sharply with the flustered expressions of the staff and security guard. She could hear the murmurs from the main desk and the occasional shuffle of feet as David and other employees tried to manage the situation. The branch seemed frozen in time, as if everyone was holding their breath, waiting for the next move. Monica knew this was the perfect moment to observe how people acted under pressure: the mix of stress, authority, and uncertainty. Finally, a manager approached Monica cautiously, clipboard in hand, eyes wide with concern. "Ma'am, we just need to clarify a few details before we can proceed," he said politely. Monica smiled gently. "Of course," she replied. Her voice remained steady, calm, and cooperative. She answered every question carefully, giving precise information without revealing anything about her real identity. Every answer was designed to appear as a normal client trying to navigate the bank's process. Meanwhile, back at the teller's desk, David Turner was pacing. He had called his supervisor, explained the situation in his own version, and received instructions to document the incident thoroughly. He felt justified in his actions: he had only been following protocol, after all, but there was a gnawing unease inside him. Something about the way Monica had responded, so composed and polite despite the escalation, made him doubt whether he had truly handled the situation correctly. Monica, still seated in the waiting area, noticed the subtle tension in David's movements. She saw how his hands trembled slightly as he wrote his notes, how his posture stiffened whenever the manager looked at him. She understood now that the moment of truth had arrived. She had seen the behavior of a staff member under stress and the reactions of the security team, and now it was time to reveal the reality behind the observation. With a calm, deliberate movement, Monica stood up. She walked toward the main desk, her steps steady, her eyes focused. The murmuring in the room stopped almost immediately. Every pair of eyes turned toward her as she removed her jacket slowly, letting her confidence and authority fill the space. "I think it's time to clarify something," she said, her voice clear and commanding. The room fell silent. David blinked in shock. He hadn't expected her to speak so directly or with such authority. "Ma'am," he asked, his voice uncertain. He glanced at the manager and security guard, as if seeking confirmation that he had heard correctly. Monica smiled faintly. "I am Monica Williams," she said firmly. "I am the CEO and owner of this bank." For a moment, there was complete silence. David froze in place, his mouth slightly open, unable to process the words he had just heard. His mind raced back over the incident: every word he had said, every action he had taken, every judgment he had made. And then it hit him with full force: the person he had slapped, the person he had almost had arrested, was the owner of the bank. The realization was overwhelming. The other staff members around the room reacted with astonishment as well. Some gasped quietly, some exchanged hurried whispers, and a few stared in wide-eyed disbelief. Monica's calm and composed demeanor made the moment even more powerful. She had revealed her identity without anger, without accusation, but the weight of her words was undeniable. David's face turned red, a mixture of embarrassment, guilt, and shock. He tried to form words, to explain himself, but nothing came out coherent. Monica's gaze met his, steady and unwavering. She did not raise her voice or show anger, but the authority in her presence was unmistakable. Every employee in the room felt the gravity of the situation. This was not just about one client or one employee, this was about accountability, respect, and professionalism. Monica continued calmly, addressing the staff. "I came here today undercover to observe how our branch operates when we face challenging situations," she said. My intention was not to cause conflict but to understand the reality of our service, the way employees interact with clients, and how rules are applied under pressure. Her words were measured, thoughtful, and deliberate. The staff listened intently, some nodding slowly, others still trying to process the revelation. Turning her attention back to David, Monica spoke directly. "David, what you did today was completely inappropriate. You assumed the worst without understanding the situation, and your actions escalated the conflict unnecessarily." David swallowed hard, feeling the full weight of her words. He had acted impulsively, believing he was following protocol, but now he realized how wrong he had been. Monica paused, letting her message sink in. "However, this is also a learning opportunity for you, for all of us. How we treat clients, how we respond under stress, and how we uphold our values matters more than following rules blindly. Integrity, patience, and respect are the foundation of this bank, and today's events have highlighted areas where improvement is needed." David finally found his voice, though it was shaky. I I didn't realize. I thought. I was trying to," he stammered. Monica raised her hand gently, signaling that he should stop. "I understand your perspective, David," she said softly but firmly. "But good intentions do not excuse poor judgment or unprofessional behavior. You must always consider the human aspect, not just the rules." The other employees began to absorb the lesson as well. They saw the difference between authority exercised with thought and authority exercised impulsively. They realized that even someone who believed they were doing the right thing could make mistakes if they lacked empathy or patience. Monica had demonstrated leadership not through anger or punishment, but through calm authority and clarity. Monica then addressed the entire branch. "From today forward, we will reinforce training and focus on improving communication, customer service, and respect in every interaction. Mistakes happen, but how we respond to them defines our professionalism and our culture. I expect each of you to reflect on today's events and consider how you can act with integrity in every situation." Her words were not just instructions, they were a call to action, a challenge for the staff to raise their standards. David hung his head, feeling a mixture of shame and realization. He understood that this moment would change the way he approached his work forever. He had treated someone without knowing who they truly were, and now he faced the undeniable truth of his error. The embarrassment was intense, but so was the clarity it brought. He vowed silently to himself that he would never act impulsively again, that he would consider each client and each situation carefully, respecting both people and procedure. Monica then returned to the manager and security guard, acknowledging their efforts. "Thank you for handling the situation professionally," she said. "But remember, calm, measured action is always better than rushing to judgment. Every client deserves respect, and every decision should reflect our values." Her tone was firm but encouraging, reinforcing that accountability and improvement were more important than blame alone. As the staff began to process the revelation, Monica observed their reactions. She saw relief in some faces, embarrassment in others, and genuine understanding in a few. This was exactly what she had hoped for: real, unfiltered responses that revealed strengths and weaknesses, fears and motivations. She knew that these lessons would stay with them, shaping their behavior and the culture of the branch in the future. David, still processing the revelation, finally looked up. His eyes met Monica's, and for the first time, there was a clear understanding. I am sorry," he said quietly. "I should have handled this differently. I didn't know." Monica nodded, acknowledging his apology but making it clear that words alone were not enough. "Acknowledgement is the first step, David. But actions moving forward will show true accountability. Today is a turning point for you and for this branch." By the end of the meeting, the atmosphere in the branch had shifted. The initial shock and tension were replaced by reflection and a sense of purpose. Monica's revelation had not only exposed a critical issue but had also provided a valuable opportunity for learning and growth. She had shown that leadership was not about authority alone but about guiding, teaching, and inspiring improvement. As Monica prepared to leave the branch, she felt a sense of satisfaction. She had achieved what she came for, a clear view of the reality inside her bank, unfiltered and genuine. She had seen how her employees behaved under pressure, how they reacted to conflict, and how assumptions could lead to serious mistakes. Most importantly, she had demonstrated the values she believed in: integrity, patience, respect, and accountability. For David, the lesson was unforgettable. He had faced the consequences of his actions, not through punishment alone but through the realization of what he had done. He would carry this experience with him, a reminder that leadership, respect, and professionalism were not abstract concepts but essential parts of every interaction. Monica walked out of the branch with a clear mind and renewed purpose. The incident had been intense, even shocking, but it had provided the insights she needed to strengthen her business, guide her employees, and reinforce the values that defined her leadership. She knew that change would not happen overnight, but this moment marked the beginning of a transformation that would improve her bank for the better. After Monica revealed her identity and explained the lessons she expected the staff to learn, the branch remained quiet for several moments. Employees whispered among themselves, still processing the reality of what had just happened. David Turner sat at his desk, staring blankly at the paperwork in front of him. He felt a mix of emotions: shock, embarrassment, guilt, and even fear. The realization that he had physically struck the owner of the bank was something he could hardly believe. He replayed every moment in his mind, from the moment Monica approached his desk to the instant he had called security. The weight of his actions pressed down on him, making it hard to focus. Monica walked back to her office after ensuring the staff had calmed down. She needed to consider the next steps carefully. This was not just about one incident, it was about maintaining the integrity of her bank and reinforcing the standards she expected. She knew that firing someone was a serious decision, but in this case, David's behavior had crossed a line that could not be ignored. Not only had he acted impulsively, but he had also failed to demonstrate the professionalism and respect that were core values of her organization. Later that day, Monica summoned David to her office. He entered nervously, his posture tense, hands fidgeting slightly. He had been told to expect a meeting with the CEO, but he had no idea what to anticipate. Monica looked up from her desk and gestured for him to sit. Her expression was calm, controlled, and authoritative. David hesitated before taking a seat, aware that this conversation could change the course of his career. "David," Monica began, her tone steady, "I want to discuss today's incident." David nodded, swallowing hard. "I understand, ma'am," he said quietly. He avoided her gaze, unsure how to address someone he had just wronged in such a serious way. Monica continued, "You know that as a bank, our staff must treat every client with respect and patience, regardless of the situation. What happened today was unacceptable. You acted impulsively, and your actions escalated a situation unnecessarily." David tried to speak, but his voice came out shaky. I I didn't mean. I was just trying to follow protocol," he stammered. Monica raised a hand gently, signaling him to stop. "Intentions are important, David, but they are not enough when actions cause harm or disrespect," she said firmly. "You physically struck a client and caused an unnecessary escalation. This is serious. I cannot overlook it." David's face turned red with shame. He had never imagined that his actions could have such consequences. He had thought he was protecting the bank, following rules, and maintaining order. But now he realized that his behavior had been inappropriate, impulsive, and harmful. He felt a deep sense of regret and wished he could undo what had happened, but he knew that was impossible. Monica leaned back slightly, observing him carefully. "I want to be clear," she continued. This is not just about today. It is about accountability, professionalism, and respect. Our clients deserve to be treated fairly and with dignity. Employees are expected to follow procedures, yes, but also to exercise judgment, empathy, and patience. You failed to demonstrate these qualities. David nodded, still avoiding her gaze. He could feel the weight of her words pressing down on him. He realized that this was more than just a reprimand, it was a moment of reckoning. He had made a serious mistake, and he understood that there would be consequences. Monica could have been angry or vengeful, but she chose a different approach, one that emphasized responsibility and learning. The clarity of her leadership made the reality even harder to bear. Monica paused, letting her words sink in. She wanted David to fully understand the gravity of the situation before she made her final decision. "David," she said finally, "after careful consideration, I have decided that we must terminate your employment with this bank." David's heart sank. He had expected some form of reprimand, perhaps a warning, but not this. The reality hit him with full force. His mind raced, and he struggled to hold back a wave of emotions: shock, disappointment, and a deep sense of personal failure. I understand," he said quietly, his voice trembling. "I know I made a mistake. I just didn't realize," he trailed off, unable to finish his sentence. Monica nodded, acknowledging his attempt to explain, but she remained firm. "Acknowledging the mistake is important, David. But actions have consequences. Physical aggression, wrongful accusations, and failure to exercise judgment cannot be tolerated, no matter the reason. Your actions today violated the standards we uphold in this organization." David looked down at his hands, feeling a deep sense of remorse. He thought about the incident from every angle: the misunderstanding, the slap, the security intervention, and finally, the revelation of Monica's identity. Each moment was a reminder of his failure. He realized that he had not only embarrassed himself but had also jeopardized the trust between the bank and its clients. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on him. Monica continued, her tone calm but firm. "I want you to take this as a learning experience, David. Mistakes happen, but how we respond and grow from them defines who we are. I expect you to reflect on your actions and the impact they had, not just on me, but on the branch, the staff, and the clients. This is a turning point in your career, and I hope you will take it seriously." David nodded slowly, swallowing hard. "I will, ma'am. I promise I will reflect on this. I never meant to cause harm." Monica gave a small, understanding nod. "I believe you, David. But intent does not erase impact. Moving forward, it is essential that you internalize this lesson." She then stood and extended her hand formally. "Thank you for your service up to this point. I hope you use this experience to grow and improve in your future endeavors. Take this as an opportunity to learn, not just a punishment." David shook her hand, feeling a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. The reality of losing his job was painful, but he also recognized the fairness in her approach. Monica had not yelled, humiliated, or mocked him. She had simply applied principles of accountability, respect, and professional standards. After the meeting, Monica turned her attention to the rest of the staff. She called a brief meeting to explain the reasoning behind her decision. "David's termination is not just about one person," she said. "It is a reminder that every interaction we have with clients matters. Every decision we make reflects our values, our integrity, and our professionalism. I expect each of you to take this seriously and reflect on how you can uphold these standards every day." The employees listened attentively. Some nodded slowly, realizing the truth in her words. Others looked thoughtful, considering how their own actions might be perceived by clients and colleagues. The lesson was clear: accountability was non-negotiable, and respect was essential in every interaction. Monica's firm yet thoughtful approach left a lasting impression. In the days following the incident, the branch implemented changes to ensure such events would not occur again. Monica introduced additional training on customer service, conflict resolution, and professional conduct. Staff members were encouraged to role-play difficult situations, practice empathy, and reflect on how their actions could affect clients and colleagues. The changes were designed not to punish but to educate, to foster a culture of professionalism, respect, and accountability. David, meanwhile, faced a period of personal reflection. Losing his job was difficult, but the experience gave him clarity. He realized the importance of humility, patience, and careful judgment. He understood that professionalism was not just about following rules but about how actions and decisions affected others. Though the incident had been a painful lesson, it also became an opportunity for growth. Monica's leadership had made a profound impact. By addressing the situation calmly, firmly, and thoughtfully, she had reinforced the values that defined her bank. Her decision to terminate David was not about revenge or anger, it was about protecting the integrity of the organization, setting a clear standard, and providing a learning opportunity for all. The branch emerged stronger, more aware, and better equipped to handle challenges with professionalism and empathy. As Monica reflected on the events of that day, she felt a sense of accomplishment. The incident had been intense, even uncomfortable, but it had provided invaluable insights. She had seen the true nature of her staff under pressure, witnessed the consequences of poor judgment, and reinforced the importance of integrity in every interaction. The lessons learned would guide her decisions and shape the culture of her bank for years to come. David's termination, though difficult, served as a powerful example to others. The staff understood that accountability was real, that professionalism was expected, and that every action had consequences. Monica's approach demonstrated that leadership was not about anger or punishment but about setting clear expectations, modeling the values she wanted to see, and fostering growth even in challenging circumstances. In the end, the incident became more than just a single confrontation. It became a defining moment for the branch, for the staff, and for Monica's leadership. It was a story of mistakes, consequences, reflection, and growth, leaving everyone involved with a deeper understanding of responsibility, respect, and the importance of upholding values in every situation. After the incident and David Turner's termination, Monica Williams returned to her daily responsibilities with a renewed sense of purpose. The events of the past few days had been intense and challenging, but they had also revealed critical lessons about her staff, her business, and the culture she wanted to maintain. She knew that leadership was not just about decisions on profits or policies, it was about people, relationships, and the values that guided the entire organization. Monica called a meeting with the branch staff to discuss the future. The atmosphere was different from the tense days prior. Employees had time to reflect on what had happened, and there was a sense of openness in the room. Monica's approach was calm, deliberate, and encouraging. She wanted the team to understand that mistakes, while serious, could also be opportunities for growth. Her voice carried authority, but it was balanced with empathy. "I know the past few days have been difficult," Monica began, "but I want you all to understand why these events are important. What happened was not just about one person's actions, it was about understanding our responsibilities, our values, and how we treat every client who walks through our doors." The employees listened intently. Some nodded in agreement, others looked thoughtful, and a few silently acknowledged that the lessons were personal and relevant to their own actions. Monica continued, "Every client deserves respect, patience, and fairness. Every interaction we have reflects the standards of this bank. When we fail to demonstrate these qualities, it affects not just the individual client, but the reputation and integrity of the entire organization. That is why accountability matters." Her words were firm, yet encouraging, emphasizing that accountability was not meant to punish, but to guide and improve. She then outlined the changes that would be implemented to prevent similar incidents in the future. The first step was enhanced training. Staff would participate in workshops focused on conflict resolution, empathy, communication, and understanding diverse client needs. These workshops would include role-playing exercises to simulate real-life situations, helping employees practice calm, professional responses even in stressful circumstances. Training is not a punishment, Monica explained. It is a tool to help you grow, to prepare you for challenging situations, and to ensure that every client is treated with the care and respect they deserve. This is an investment in your skills, your professionalism, and the success of our branch. The employees responded positively. Many realized that the workshops would provide practical skills and help them avoid mistakes in the future. Monica also introduced a new policy for handling disputes and misunderstandings with clients. Employees were encouraged to take a moment, assess the situation carefully, and involve supervisors only when necessary. The goal was to prevent unnecessary escalation while maintaining safety and compliance. Staff members would now have clear guidelines for diffusing tension, listening actively, and ensuring that clients felt heard and respected. This is about creating a culture where everyone feels valued and safe, Monica emphasized. Clients, staff, and even management deserve an environment of respect and professionalism. When we uphold these standards, we strengthen not only our reputation but our ability to serve our communities effectively. Her words resonated with the team, reminding them that the bank's mission was not only financial success but also positive impact on the people they served. In addition to training and policy changes, Monica decided to implement regular feedback sessions. Staff would meet weekly with supervisors to discuss challenges, share experiences, and reflect on their performance. These meetings were designed to encourage open communication, continuous learning, and early intervention when potential issues arose. Monica believed that proactive support and guidance were more effective than reactive punishment. The goal, she explained, is to ensure that everyone has the tools, knowledge, and confidence to handle any situation professionally. Mistakes will happen, but we want to learn from them quickly and prevent them from recurring. This is how we grow together as a team. The employees appreciated the clarity and purpose behind these initiatives. They felt empowered, not just directed, which inspired a sense of responsibility and pride in their work. Meanwhile, the story of the incident and Monica's decisive actions began to spread beyond the branch. Other employees in different locations heard about the lessons learned and the measures being implemented. The story became a talking point not for gossip, but for reflection. Staff across the organization discussed the importance of empathy, accountability, and professionalism. Monica's approach, calm, fair, and focused on learning, became an example of leadership that prioritized growth and integrity. For David Turner, the experience became a turning point in his life. Though losing his job was difficult, he used the incident as an opportunity for self-reflection. He sought guidance from mentors, enrolled in professional development courses, and worked to improve his understanding of empathy, communication, and conflict resolution. He realized that one mistake did not define his entire career, but the lessons he learned would shape his future decisions and actions. Monica, observing the ripple effects of the incident, felt a sense of accomplishment. Leadership was never easy, and handling mistakes with fairness, firmness, and clarity required both courage and patience. By addressing the issue directly, she had reinforced the bank's values, supported the growth of her staff, and ensured that similar situations would be handled more effectively in the future. Over the following weeks, the branch's atmosphere transformed. Employees became more attentive to clients, more careful with their words, and more patient under pressure. The changes were subtle at first: polite gestures, thoughtful responses, careful listening, but over time, they became a part of the branch's culture. Monica continued to visit occasionally, often undercover, observing the improvements firsthand. Each visit reinforced the lessons learned and highlighted the positive impact of consistent leadership. Clients noticed the change as well. Many commented on the professionalism, kindness, and attentiveness of the staff. Complaints decreased, and satisfaction ratings improved. The bank not only recovered its reputation after the incident but strengthened it. Monica's commitment to accountability, empathy, and professional standards created a ripple effect that improved the branch's operations and enhanced client trust. The incident also provided Monica with a valuable reminder of the importance of observation and understanding. Even as a CEO, she recognized that distance from daily operations could hide underlying issues. By engaging directly, sometimes even undercover, she could witness reality firsthand and take proactive measures to maintain the standards she valued. The lessons were clear: leadership required attention, action, and a commitment to principles, not just policies. In her personal reflection, Monica acknowledged the balance between firmness and fairness. She had made a difficult decision to terminate an employee, yet she had done so with clarity, compassion, and a focus on long-term improvement. The outcome reinforced her belief that leadership was not about avoiding challenges, but about confronting them responsibly, modeling the behavior she expected, and fostering an environment of learning and growth. The incident became a story that Monica would share with future leaders in her organization, not to embarrass, but to teach. It illustrated the importance of empathy, accountability, and professional standards. It showed how one challenging situation, handled thoughtfully, could lead to lasting positive change. Most importantly, it highlighted that leadership was not about authority alone but about guiding others to uphold values, learn from mistakes, and create a culture of respect and integrity. By the time the weeks passed, the branch had transformed into a model of professionalism and accountability. Staff members were more confident in their roles, better equipped to handle challenges, and more aware of the importance of empathy and respect. Monica's lessons had become a part of the branch's identity. The culture she had envisioned, one of integrity, patience, and client-centered service, was taking root. Monica reflected on the entire experience with a sense of fulfillment. The incident had been dramatic, even uncomfortable, but it had served a greater purpose. She had reinforced the standards of her bank, provided a powerful lesson to her staff, and improved the overall culture and service of her organization. Leadership, she realized, was not about avoiding mistakes or conflict. It was about using them as opportunities to guide, teach, and inspire. In the end, the story became a defining moment for the branch, for Monica, and for her staff. It was a story of accountability, professionalism, growth, and transformation. It illustrated the importance of observing reality, acting decisively, and reinforcing values in every interaction. Monica's calm, thoughtful, and principled approach turned a tense incident into an opportunity for meaningful change. As she looked around the branch during one of her routine visits, Monica saw employees interacting with clients with patience, respect, and attentiveness. She saw a team that had grown stronger, more aware, and more committed to the principles she valued. The lessons of the incident had taken root, and the positive changes were clear. Monica felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that her leadership had created lasting impact. The story of what had happened became more than a tale of conflict, it became a story of transformation. Monica's vision, combined with decisive action, clear communication, and a focus on learning, had strengthened her organization. Employees, clients, and leaders alike remembered the lesson: integrity, respect, and accountability were the foundation of lasting success. Through this experience, Monica learned, as did her staff, that challenges could be opportunities, mistakes could be lessons, and strong leadership could turn a tense moment into a catalyst for lasting positive change. The branch emerged stronger, more cohesive, and more resilient, ready to serve clients with professionalism and respect, no matter what challenges arose.